Okay, bro, this is really hard because I recorded this yesterday, but I didn't have any audio on it, and I have been fucking around trying to figure out how to get audio off of my surveillance camera, and I've gotten it off, but it's really bad quality, so I'm just gonna jump into it. There's this nagging anxiety that it's not gonna be as good as what I recorded yesterday, but I was in a rush yesterday, so yes, that made it good because I was speaking quickly and with lots of energy and now I'm remembering why it was good and why. Okay, whatever. Let's just get into it. So my buddy sends me a text message, and it's also just I don't feel like I'm enjoying myself talking about this right now. Okay, let's try again. Do I want to talk about how people see science and how I wish that they would see science? Do I want to talk about how people refer to science as kind of the opposite of what it is, as this limiting thing rather than this really open discovering thing? Obviously, there are limits with science. If I say, there's a dragon behind me, yeah, wow, it's a color that I've never ever seen before. It would best be described as dude, the color, I mean. Sorry, the dragon was just doing a little dance, and that was really, really nice. And I know that because I can tell. It's obvious to me that there's a dragon doing this behind me. Okay, that's not going to qualify as science by any means. And that belief is going to be rejected by science. And so what that means is when we look at that and we say, is that justified? Oh boy. I don't, okay. Why am I struggling right now? Okay, bruh. Did the dragon thing. Done. I was trying to say something and I don't really actually know what I was trying to say. And I think I might have been wrong. Okay, so let me go back to saying that science is not a limiting thing, but I can't go back to saying that because science is a limiting thing. There are no beliefs or realities that are theoretically beyond science. Okay. If something is real, it can be investigated. We might not have the tools yet to investigate it. We might not have the theory yet to investigate it, to figure out how this thing could be tested, how things could be controlled for. But people who don't understand science love to just put every idea that isn't already in a science textbook outside of the realm of science. But the whole point that I want to make here is that what we know is not the same thing as what we are able to study. And what we've already come to understand, I'm repeating myself. And am I just feeling more self conscious because there's this part of me that's comparing what I'm doing now to what I did yesterday? No, I guess there's also this issue of I was inspired yesterday. I was thinking about it yesterday. And so it was just coming out of me. Whereas now I'm trying harder to grab it. And this is a pretty big issue that I have in general with productivity, with my projects. It's fairly easy for me to, no, that's not true. It's still difficult, but it's easier for me to work on something when I have just had the idea. And it's not about recency, it's about the fact that typically when something is recent, it's because there are these unconscious mechanisms that have just developed it, right? And they have sent it up to the more verbal, conscious, whatever mechanisms. And then they've done their work, and so they chill. If you work on the idea immediately, they're still kind of there, active, paying attention to this thing. And so they're going to keep feeding you as you're working on it, as you're turning it into something. But if you let them completely cool off, and then the next day, which is the case now, you try to talk about it, you try to work on the thing, well, you gotta, I guess, wake them up somehow. Okay, so let's go to the message he sent that triggered it then. I do think there are things that are not explained by science yet. They're just like, but bro, we did this yesterday. Oh, yes, bros. Thank you so much. And you did an awesome job yesterday. I feel good about it, but I'm not going to be able to get the things done that I want to get done if we can only work on things when we first have the idea of them. Bro, it's not happening yet. Okay, so what's the issue? Is it that I really can't explain what my objection is? No. It's more so it's really about, I'm still comparing it to yesterday because I had energy about it yesterday and it flowed out of me so smoothly yesterday. And I am having trouble getting over the fact that I won't be recreating that. Okay, so we're just going to push through. You're not going to lose all of your subscribers because of how shit this is, okay? It's amazing what they're, it's not what they're willing to watch. I do think that my content is good and important, but what they're willing to sit through relative to the other stuff that's available on YouTube. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna push through. We're just gonna push through. And all our feelings about it being shit, we're just gonna let pass. Thank you so much. Okay, so he's got this idea that the brain is a transducer. Okay. I don't even feel like reading this. Okay. I had an interview with a Dutch couple when I was on Ibiza. So you go to the Sassy playlist and you'll see us, we're like sitting on the ground. And yeah, just look like van people sitting on in the grass out in nature. Um, I think they were Dutch. Yeah, they were blonde. Only the guy was on camera. It's just me and the guy on camera. And that comes to mind because, well, and it was in English, of course, because I don't speak Dutch. And so you can watch that to see an example of people believing in this like magical consciousness. I mean, that's a pretty common thing, just not super common in Western religions, but of course in Hinduism and let's just leave it at Hinduism. And then like a lot of hippie shit. There's this idea of a consciousness as we like experience the world. So a consciousness that is similar to our experience, our consciousness, that permeates everything. So that, you know, a lizard or whatever is, or a tree is like kind of perceiving the world. But I think there's this assumption that, yeah, it's similar to our consciousness, but actually, no, I'm not thinking that anymore because I don't think I can justify that. Maybe people who talk this shit about, oh man. All right, bro, it's not flowing, bro. Everything I'm saying is bullshit right now, bro. Okay, but I said we're gonna push through, so we're just gonna have to, because here's what I got wrong. I was just kind of talking about panpsychism, and I didn't mean to be. Saying that cells are conscious, that's a possibility. Right now, it's not. We don't even know how to describe or test for human consciousness. You know, not human consciousness, brain consciousness, the consciousness that you and I are familiar with, the consciousness of these words and feeling like I'm choosing these movements and all that stuff. So if my mitochondria, if my skin cells have consciousness, well, it's not going to be a visual thing. It's not going to be. Well, I have no idea what it is, but I can say that's not going to be a visual thing because there's not a photon processing system that we know of. Yeah. I want to say that maybe okay, it could be a visual thing in a sense of vision that isn't this vision. Okay. So that's something that one might say is beyond science, and they would be wrong. It's just beyond current science, okay? But this is what science is. It's learning things, figuring out how to learn things, or, you know, how to learn about things, how to study them, how to understand them, how to describe them, how to predict them. Okay, so, but this is not that, okay? Okay, fine. This is what is much more of what I call NACO, which is a natural compulsion, almost a priori, a priori, a thing that brains are like programmed to believe. Okay, like brains are programmed to believe that you know, fast-moving objects are bad. Okay, that a long slender thing in the grass moving like that is danger. Okay, that mothers are good, that our in-group is good, right? All of this stuff is pre-programmed. Well, another thing that's pre-programmed is, oh wait, let me give another example. Intentionality. If something happens, then there is an intention behind that action that can be understood, okay? Which is how, you know, we anthropomorphize so many things in our experience, our computer, or you know, maybe a plant, or, you know, oh my gosh, that plant wants blah blah blah. Plant's not a great example, but you know, gods come from anthropomorphizing a lot of natural events, or saying that there is some intentional agent behind those events if the events themselves weren't like intentional agents. Yeah, so you could have like a storm, right? And you can say that the water and blah, blah, but then that just quickly becomes a more man-like figure behind it, Poseidon, you know, something like that. Okay. So believing that there is this higher power, or, by the way, there are lots of higher powers. Gravity's a fucking higher power than me. I am its bitch, bro. So, um, but believing that there is this intentional agent, higher power, this, and feeling also just this connection to other people, those are two natural compulsions that brains have. I call that a NACO. And that's typically like a belief. Okay, and NACO is typically a belief. we could call it a NACOB if you want, a naturally compulsive belief, and there can be other NACOs like a naturally compulsive reaction, a NACOR or something. I don't know. Anywho, so one NACOB is, yeah, a god or a consciousness that is sort of, I'm not trying not to refer to panpsychism where conscious permeates everything, but a consciousness that permeates everything. And that's the difference. Okay, so then this bullshit idea is about the brain being a transducer, and there's this ridiculous sentence in it. A growing number of neuroscientists and physicists lean towards the transmission or filter theory. Not true at all. Okay? So my friend Vic, he keeps giving me these knackos. Now, one thing that's great about Vic and the reason that we still have conversations is because he does care about science. He does care about evidence. Oh, I made that point so well in the previous video. No problem. He does care about, although he has a lot of very fringe cobs, you know, kind of compulsive beliefs that he keeps returning to. Yeah, and also the Warsaw illusion of like a, you know, reliable like sense that you can kind of see truth when it's in front of you. And we're going to see that in a little bit. But we still keep talking because he I want to say he isn't stubborn. He is stubborn, but there are parts of him that are not stubborn that are, well, you'll see. Okay, so let's just move on. Okay, so now that the AI has told him that there's a growing number of scientists that are subscribing to this bullshit transducer NACO, I say this. Oh my god, AI-induced delusions is so real. What growing number of neuroscientists and physicists? Now I'm really doubting every time AI has validated my ideas. Okay, so then this is what I mean by he's not stubborn. He goes and he asks the question, I think to another AI, yo, is that real? Or is it true that transduction theory is gaining acceptance? Fuck no. So transmission theory specifically, the brain as antenna/receiver has not gained traction among neuroscientists or physicists. There's no survey, no shift in the field, no growing body of accepted evidence. What's grown in the volume of popular articles asserting a trend, what's grown is the volume of popular articles asserting a trend, which is a different thing from the trend actually existing. So then this is a NACO, you know, all the Warsaw illusions are NACOBs. So we tend to think that like we have a sensor for who has a lucid point, but really there's a substitution happening when you read something and you have deemed it as lucid, as coherent. Really what it is did I understand that? Did that make sense to me? Did that set off any alarms? And if it didn't, then you're like, okay, then it's a lucid point. But that's much less about the point itself than it is about your perception, which is a point I'm going to make later about something else. We are predictive machines. We really had this, what's called naive realism, this belief, and naive realism is another NACOB. We had this belief that we see the world as it is, and that relates to the Warsaw illusion of sense, that we can kind of sense truth when it's in front of us. And of course, it makes sense why we evolved that way, so that we could rely on our interpretations, but we've just gone too far, and it's kind of ruining the world. People think that that science is, oh, that's cool, but like, who needs it? Because I can just like look at things and know things. So, you know, what you're talking about here, what he's really using to like assess whether something is lucid is, you know, things like what we call the fluency heuristic, right? Like, did that flow into me? You know, was that, yeah, difficult to process? And if it wasn't, if it felt fluid, then cool, it must be lucid. So anyway, so I respond, right, exactly. So Hoffman talks about something like panpsychism in the book A Case Against Reality, and that's really good. Highly recommend. And it's like he says in the introduction, ultimate red pill shit, but scientific, okay, like real, okay. But transmission is bullshit based on our natural compulsion to see consciousness as a magical energy / God thing. But, and then in response to his lucidity thing, I try to make this other point about his other NACO that he can judge lucidity of the point, right? No, there's no lucidity you can judge. You can't judge your own lucidity. Oh, I'm thinking clearly right now. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, sometimes it's obvious. Wait a minute, this is unfamiliar. There are alarms going off. This doesn't feel lucid. I don't feel like I'm thinking clearly right now. But also, bro, There are lots of people that think they're thinking clearly and are not. And I hate that that doesn't scare the shit out of you, bro. I hate that you think that you have any idea when you're thinking clearly, when I know you have talked to people that truly believe that they are thinking clearly and you don't. And I hate that you like explain it away and go, oh no, but I can tell they're not thinking clearly. Therefore, they're not thinking clearly, but I can tell that I am thinking clearly. Therefore, I'm thinking clearly. What, bro? You've missed the point. What do you think they're thinking? Aren't they thinking, well, clearly I'm thinking clearly, and this guy who says I'm not thinking clearly, damn, it's such a shame. He's brainwashed. He's just not able to think clearly. Oh, God. So I try to explain, but you can't really judge lucidity, and neither can I. Okay. You should be looking at citations, like, what is the quantity of references that this AI is giving, and then you can go a step further and look at the references. At some point, you have to trust, otherwise, you're just going to be stuck. But this is too much trust. Oh, well, actually, again, one thing that I appreciate about Vic is that he does slow down a bit. He did ask the question a second time and to another AI, right? So that's great. And if you're watching this, Vic, what I would want is the value of evidence. And you know what? I think the previous recording, it also had like a better tone where I was appreciating Vic more. And I think my annoyance about the fact that I'm re-recording this is going to come across as annoyance with Vic, because if there is some annoyance with Vic, but actually really that's annoyance with just like people in general and how we see things. So, oh boy, I don't even know if I'm going to send this to him. So neither can I. You should be looking at citations and maybe like lucidity of evidence. So if the AI is like presenting evidence, are any alarms going off? Again, that's not going to be a super reliable indicator, but it's still going to be better because it's respectful of evidence, or of the concept of evidence. It's still going to be better than just judging. Oh, right, the lucidity of the claim. Okay, so here he is trying hard to be like, yo, isn't there an underlying consciousness? Yeah. Okay, we're just gonna skip that. So I go, bro, your ideas about what that consciousness would be have nothing to do with what that consciousness would be. You're just doing what every human brain does, looking for God. But he's like too intellectual, or intellectual isn't the right word, but it's the word that like they would use. Oh, let me explain. God, religion, out of vogue, okay? If you're a smart, college-educated person in civilized society, you would feel silly saying, I believe in religious people know what atheists think about them. Like, oh gosh, you and your fairy tales, So then what are we to do? The NACO doesn't go away. So what do we do if we can't be talking about God without looking silly? Oh, okay, we talk about the universe. We talk about some cosmic consciousness. We talk about karma. We give it other words because those are coming into vogue in the Western world. Oh, wow, you sound so cultured. You sound so cool talking about that stuff. Okay. But it's all the same shit. Intentional, powerful agents behind the veil of life and responsible for life. So you're just doing what every human brain does, looking for God. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but okay, no, I won't spoil it if it gives you pleasure. You're not hurting anybody with this right now. And also, again, he is more scientifically minded than most people, and I want to keep him as a friend. I like this guy, so. And, he thinks I don't know what lucid means, so. I go, yeah, but what does clearer mean, though? That it sounds better to you? How valuable is that, right? Okay. So that was over the weekend, I think. Okay, so then I guess we only have like 4 minutes, which is frustrating. Okay, that's okay. So I had this whole moment that I really liked where, oh man. So earlier in, I guess this video, because I think I just put it in the same video even though today's the next day, I talked about how people like, whether or not you like dismiss something as gibberish, often has little to do with the thing. I mean, we've just been talking about that. It has to do with your perception, but it also has to do with whether the thing is like in vogue, or there's also like the genetic fallacy. The person who is saying it, do we think that they are weird or not? And if we think that they are normal, then the things that they say, we are more likely to see them as normal, even if they aren't. And likewise, if we're like in the process of rejecting someone, or we think of someone as an outsider, like everything that they say kind of might sound gibberish. So I remember understanding what he was saying here. And this is a really important point. Yesterday, so I'm recording this video, and I am saying, okay, Vic, I'm exaggerating right now, but basically, Vic is loony. He's saying a bunch of stuff that just doesn't track, and it's all just based on these like intuitions, these NACOs, right? And so I'm like connecting with you. You and I are like the in group. I know I'm mean to you sometimes, but right now I'm seeing you and I'm seeing you and me as the in group. Okay. And I'm going, this guy, what is he talking about? And so because I categorized him as other, all of a sudden this message stopped making sense to me. I swear, because I swear when I first read it yesterday, it did make sense to me. I knew what he was saying here because it was me and him. We were in a group together. So I wasn't rejecting him. I wasn't putting him in this, you understand, in this outside category. So now maybe it was when I read it. Good point. Maybe it was when I read it that I was tripping. I was like, oh, I'm connecting. This is my friend. And then I was filling in gaps, maybe incorrectly. I don't know. Either way, I was filling in gaps when I read this that I am not filling in now. So I cannot tell you what this means, but I want to say, well, now less so, because maybe I was tripping yesterday when I thought it made sense. No, I mean he's a smart guy, so I'm sure it the idea behind it makes sense. Because I don't, yeah, because this is he's observant. He's like good at like thinking about like people and analyzing stuff. Okay, even if there are some beliefs that yeah. Okay, moving forward, because actually I have to go now. So I didn't even get to explain the thing that I wanted to explain. But all right, let's try again tonight. God damn it.